You know, I'm taking this medicine, and it's making my face kind of blotchy and pimply from the medicine, so I'm a little bit embarrassed by it. So I'm sorry about that, like my movie. But, you know,
I appreciate that you took the time to make this movie and that you basically put it out there yourself.
Will you give me a massage tonight for that?
On your back, you bet about it. What I'm trying to get at here, though, is...
Speak up, we can't hear you.
Okay, my concern is with the RFID chips and the national ID card.
Why don't you stand up?
Sure. I want to know what can be done in refusing the national ID card. Where can we go? I know I'm going to get in trouble when I say I don't want this. I want to know if there's already people in place that will be able to help the public.
Let me put you this way. It's going to come in your driver's license.
I know.
So it means you can't drive with a driver's license. And that's 2 years from now.
You don't need one.
Okay? And I expect to have millions of people driving without driver's licenses. Okay, so there's nothing they can do about it. That's what I keep saying. Let's organize. Let's make this happen together. They do it in your driver's license because they know you're going to do it that way. Oh, I need a driver's license. I can't drive it out. Bullshit. You know how to drive? Does a license make you drive better? No. By the way, a license is bullshit. Okay, let me tell you something.
Nice.
It's a privilege granted by government. The truth is, you have a right to walk, you have a right to ride a bicycle, you have a right to ride a horse, you have a right to drive a car. The difference is, when you drive a car, it could be dangerous for other people. So, what you need is a certificate of accomplishment that you know how to drive, but you don't need a license. So license means they're giving you a privilege. Screw that. You get a COA, Certificate of Accomplishment. I can now exercise my rights. I'm a good enough driver, I can exercise my right to drive. You're not giving me any license, because I have a right. And stop, you need a license. What do you need a license to open a hardware store for? What open a beauty parlor? You need a license for that? No.
Nope.
You need a license to give a massage? No. What's all this license crap? It's how they control you.
Right, so you know exactly.
Aaron,
Exactly.
also, the Catherine Albrecht, who was in the film, she's going to be at Transitions Bookstore.
Excuse me, this isn't a promo for Catherine.
If you want to know more, she's going to be at Transitions Tuesday.
Yeah, she'll be a transition, and she's really...
1,600
She's brilliant about the chips.
What day? Tuesday?
Tuesday at 7 o'clock
night
at
at 7,
Transitions.
Transitions,
I have a question.
North Avenue and, what, Southport?
Chip.
I gotta take some other questions. Didn't you want to ask a question? Somebody over here? You did. Okay.
I was at Transitions when you first came to the
Right.
I am from St. Louis, and I spoke with you about bringing the film to St. Louis. I almost wore my fingertips off trying to reach you to see what we could do to bring the film to St. Louis. I had a phone number from some guy, and it's like, are there really team players here, or are we going to get this moving forward?
Well, here's what you have to understand. It takes money. It takes money.
I understand
Every
what
city
you're
you go
saying.
to takes money to open the movie.
Right.
Okay.
So we already had the theater.
But do you have money for television advertising? Do you have money for newspaper advertising?
No, but
Do you have
we
money
have
for radio? Do you have money for prints?
We have a network already. There was
Let
no one
me
that called
make
back or said anything.
I don't
That's
know.
all I'm saying.
I don't know anything about that. Okay, honestly.
Well, what do we do to move forward?
Well, hopefully this is going to be a commercial.
A series of revelations that got you down.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, you talked to Rockefeller, right?
Yeah.
When you were running for governor of
Right.
And you must have had other conversations. Who told you that, say, the income tax was illegal?
I've heard it for years. So I decided to investigate myself. I thought they'd make a good documentary to find out whether it's true or not. And that was one of the reasons why I made this movie. So I wanted to find out the truth. And then when I called the IRS on the phone, and I said, guys, I'm going to make a documentary about you guys, and I'd like to know what the law is, and I'd like to interview the commissioner. And they said, well, no, you can't interview the commissioner. And we go to the website and you'll see where the law is. And the website was just propaganda and nonsense. I said, hey, there's something wrong here. They refused to answer the people's questions about where the law. If there was a statute written by Congress. They would say, look, go to the books, here's the statute number, and go look it up. Go read it. But they don't do that. So you know there's something wrong. They go all around the bush, you know. Go here, go here. They never give you a straight answer. It's all propaganda. And that's what made me make the movie. And then once I started making the movie, I said, you know, this movie, for me, the IRS and the taxes represent the police state, and I think the movie should continue beyond the IRS. Originally, the movie was called April 15th, The Real April Fool's Day. That was the original title of the movie. And it was 100% about the IRS. And then I decided to change it, because I felt there were issues that were much more important than the IRS. And that's why I got into the Federal Reserve and the New World Order and the police state. So that sort of evolved out of all that. Anybody else? Who haven't I called on?
Me? Okay, thanks. I have a couple questions. One of the questions is...
One second. Do me a favor. When somebody's asking a question, don't keep your hands raised, because I find it distracting. Okay? Just let the person finish speaking, and then raise your hand.
Okay. I'd like to know, why do you support Build Dark Walls here in Chicago? And what is your take on rap music as it affects as a new culture affecting America?
Well, it's like this. First, I support Bill Dark Walls because he saw the movie, and he said he believes in everything in the movie, and that he would make that part of his campaign. And anybody who recognizes what's happening and talks the truth, I'll support. And it's so damn British.
Because they know.
Because I love most music, you know. I don't like country and western very much, and I don't like rap very much because it's a little too aggressive for my taste in music. Okay, but that doesn't mean I don't respect the people who do, because it's very difficult to do good rap. You know, it's just not my taste necessarily, and so and I can't say for sure what it's doing to society. I think that's your question. You know, I don't know. You know what it's doing to society. I know that everybody dresses the same. You know, the hat's on the side, the pants are down to the knee. You know, it's like everybody has the same costume. You know, and I certainly recognize that. You know, but on the other hand, anybody here have the hat on that way? But I really don't have a good opinion about what it's doing to the country socially. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and everybody was talking about the Grateful Dead and drugs and smoking pot. I smoked a lot of pot. And I did. I was definitely smoking lots of weed, you know, when I was younger. And I did my fair amount of drugs when I was younger. And everybody said, you know, it's going to kill you and this and that. And the parents were crazy and up in arms about it. But Frank Zappa said a very smart thing about music. He said if music really had that much of an effect on people, then everybody would be in love. Because that's all you hear is love songs. Right? I mean, all songs about how much I love you and you love me and that girl, I love that girl, you know. But, you know, I think music is limited to the effect it has on you. And I know for me that drugs were a very important part of my life when I was a kid, you know. And now I hate drugs because my son's a drug addict. Okay? And I hate what it's done to him. And I've had no success in getting him to stop, you know. And it's very painful for me. Okay? It's very painful for me to have my son be a drug addict. And he can't stop himself. It reminds me of Richard Pryor, who I loved. I loved Richard Pryor dearly. And I just saw that man, who was probably the most talented man I've ever met, the funniest guy I've ever met, you know, and I've met them all. See how he destroyed his life, you know, through the use of crack and crack cocaine. And, you know, when I made Trading Places, the original cast was to be Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
Wow.
That was the original cast. It wasn't Eddie Murphy and Danny Aykroyd. And Richard couldn't be found. I mean, Gene Wilder agreed to do it. And then Richard Pryor couldn't. He was somewhere in Hawaii, stoned out, and he couldn't be spoken to. You know? And I love Richard. You know? I mean, I did a show with Richard at the Hollywood Bowl. And I'll never forget. Oh, I'm not going to get into that tonight. But any other questions? I'm sorry. Yes?
You know, we're not on the island.